Okay, so today's video is about surface area of rectangular prisms, and this is honestly, surface area is a little more challenging than the volume that we're going to do next, but the rectangular prism is probably the easiest one to do for surface area. So we got a little bit of the hard, a little bit of the easy in this one. All right, surface area in general is the total area of the faces of a 3D shape. So if you're going to cover it with wrapping paper, you do it all the time around Christmas time, you wrap things, you maybe paint something outside of something, that's all surface area of a shape, okay? For rectangular prism, there are 6 faces, you know that already. Each face has a congruent pair, if you think about it. So there are 3 pairs of congruent faces. We've talked about this in class. Okay, if we find the area of the 3 different faces, then we just double that, and that'll result in the surface area of the rectangular prism. And that's kind of generally what we're going to do. You don't have to write all that down because we're going to do it. Okay? So let's do some examples and you'll see. And then we're going to come up with some shortcuts. All right, so let's just get a regular example. All right, number 1. If we take, let's see how far I can go. All right, how much wrapping paper would it take to wrap a 2 by 4 by 6 inch box? Okay? First of all, you go ahead and sketch the box if they don't do that for you. And you put in your labels. Okay. So you got to find the areas, all 6 sides or 6 faces. Okay, notice we have a top and a bottom, 2 sides, and a back and a front. Okay, so the front and back would be this part here. I'm going to say it's 2 by 4, 2 times 4, right? The area of a rectangle is length times width. So 2 times 4, 2 times 4, and that's 8. You got 2 of them. Then you have a left and a right, and that's 6 by 2, and that's going to be 12. And the top is 6 by 4. It's 6 here and then 4 here. And the bottom, you see clearly, is 6 and 4. And that's 24. So when you add them all up, you get 88 square inches. Okay, we're still square. We're just still talking about area. Area is, again, square units. Okay, well, is there a shortcut? Let's think about this. We just did this twice, so I could just say 2 times 2 times 4. I did 2 of these, so I could represent that by 2, parentheses 6 times 2. And then again, the same for that. Then if I factor a 2 out of all of these shapes, I factor a 2 out of here, a 2 out of here, and a 2 out of here, I have 2 times 4 left, plus, that's 6 times 2, because I'm taking the 2 out, take the 2 out of here, 2 out of here, and then the 2 out of here, I'm left with 6 times 4. But I'm adding, remember now, I'm adding all these different products up. And once I add them all up, then I'm multiplying by 2. Okay, so let's try another example. Okay, so in general, the surface area of, say this is the height, the length and width. The length and width, you'll see that interchange. Some people call this the width and this the length. It doesn't really matter, okay? In general, you're thinking of it, it's twice the length and the width, that would be the top and the bottom of this one, plus twice the length and the height, that would be the 2 sides, plus twice the width and the height, and that would be the back and the front of this particular shape. Or you could say, again, I factored the 2 out, so I'm left with length times width, plus length times height, plus width times height. Okay, that's a general formula for surface area of any rectangular prism. Okay, so let's do a little example of it. We'll find another little easy way to remember it. Okay, to find the surface area of this box, okay, I went ahead and thought, okay, the length is 6, the width is 4, and the height is 18. We're not going to worry about the labels right now, whether it's inches or meters or whatever. We're just to focus on the numbers. Okay, so again, I'm going to follow this pattern. I'm going to do 2 parentheses length times width, so length times width, plus the length times the height. The length times the height is 6 times 18. Plus, there's my plus, and then the width times the height, well, the width and the height are 4 and 18. So I do this all on my calculator, calculate all up, I get 408. Now, it's really good, you want to always double check the numbers you press in, because it's really easy to press a times here instead of a plus, or a plus here instead of a times. So make sure, and I had to do that too, that when you press times, times shows up. Okay, so be very careful, you're going to get the wrong answer. All right? An easy way to think about it is a smiley face. If you put all the 3 dimensions, length, width, and height, and you make a smiley face out of it, meaning if I say, okay, 6 times 4, I write that down, plus the 4 times the 18, write that down, and then the 6 times the 18, that's the mouth part. Okay, when I do all those, add all those products together and double it, then I get my answer. So a smiley face is kind of an easy way to do it. I think the smiley face is a little bit easier than that. The trick is, don't do 6 times 4 times 8. That will not get you the correct answer. That'll be something else we'll learn about in a few days. Okay, so one more example just to clarify it, then we'll just do a ton of examples in class, okay? All right, number 3, how much liner for a pool that is 12 by 24 by 5 feet will be needed? Also include a protective top. So in other words, I'm trying to go ahead and find this is a surface area problem, right? Because you're trying to find how much it'll take to cover all 6 sides. So we're going to use the smiley face, okay? We're going to include the protective top, supposing it's going to also need a liner. I know it doesn't, but we're just, in a sense it does, but we'll just move on. We'll just do it, and then you'll see what I'm going to do later. So I do my 3 numbers, okay, and I do my smiley face. 12 times 24, plus 24 times 5, plus 12 times 5. Then I remember I've got to double it because I've got pairs of all those products, okay? So once I do all that on the calculator, I multiply it by 2. Make sure you use parentheses. If you're going to do all this in one step on the calculator, you have to do the parentheses. If you do not, if you forget the parentheses, all the calculator is going to do, it's going to do this plus this times 2. It's just going to multiply that last one times 2. So you got to make sure at the beginning you put a parentheses, and make sure before you times by 2 you put a closed parentheses. And the answer there is 936. Okay, now suppose you did not want the protective tops. What would you have to subtract out? Which one? We'd have to figure it out. In my mind, I'm thinking 5 feet is probably the height of the pool. Okay, probably the depth of it. So the top would have to be the 12 times the 24. Okay, I just would have to get rid of one of them because I do want a bottom liner on my pool, I guess. So that would be the 12 times 24, 24 times 12 would be 288 feet. So I would subtract that out, I'd get 936 minus the 288, and all the liner would be, just for the actual pool part, would be 648 square feet. So there'll be sometimes some problems where you have to get all but one side, or maybe all but 2 sides. Like if you paint a room, you're not going to do the top and the bottom paint, so you're going to just need the paint for the walls. And we'll talk about all that and work some problems out like that tomorrow.